Hello, today I'm with the wonderful Liz Brewer. Now, Liz Brewer has graced TV for many, many years. I'm sure you've all seen her on Ladette to Ladies that ran, was it 6 seasons it ran?
We did 6 series. Yeah, we did 6 series over 7 years.
Right, which I loved. I was a huge fan, and if you haven't seen it, why not? It's still online. And of course, we have to talk about the fact that the rich and famous come to Liz if they want a party planned, something that really stands out. So I really appreciate you taking the time, Liz.
I'm delighted, absolutely delighted.
Now, we were just chatting, and I first met Liz 19 years ago.
I know, you've just reminded me, and honestly, I can't believe that 19 years has gone like that.
I can't. In fact, I'm quite upset. If you'd like to tell everybody how we met, why we met.
Well, all I remember was I'd arranged for Dame Shirley Bassey to receive Legion d'honneur. And I'd been approached by the French embassy, and of course I spoke to her, and she was absolutely delighted. And then somehow or other, you must have got in touch and wanted to film the occasion.
Yes.
And I said, absolutely wonderful, I would just get the permission. Yeah. And so it all went ahead. What I can't believe is, though, it's 19 years. It was a wonderful occasion.
Oh, well, it was beautiful. It was very intimate, but I do remember... that the French ambassador was slightly overcome when he saw Dame Shirley. I think his little heart was beating, because when Dame Shirley got up and sang to him and looked directly at him with her glass of champagne, he was sort of overcome, wasn't he?
She does do that, and it does floor people.
He didn't know where to look.
No.
But that was a wonderful evening, and you really did a fantastic job, because everybody enjoyed themselves. And I remember, was it Joan Collins was there?
Yeah, Joan was
there.
Right. There were a lot of people there who sadly, though, excluding Joan, but sadly are not around nowadays. It just shows, over the years, how many people have moved on. They passed.
Yes, they
very,
have.
very sad, And it's only when I look back at some of those videos that I realise how lucky we are to still be here.
Well, you have met an incredible group of people, and I don't think we're going to see their like again all at the same time. And sadly, we're talking about passing. I can't not mention, obviously, the sad passing of Ivana Trump.
I know, terrible, terrible.
Completely came out of the blue.
It did, and the sadness, because she was actually really excited. I'd spoken to her the week before, and she was getting ready to go down to, she's got a second home down in Saint-Tropez, a house which actually overlooks the fish market. It's not in one of the grand parks or anything. It was wonderful, typically French little village house, and she loved that, and she loved going out and buying her own fish and buying her own vegetables, and just being one of the people and turning off. And I was in fact going to go down there, and I was going to join her, and she was in great form. She had dinner with a fabulous friend of mine the evening before this happened, and excited. She was flying on the Saturday and slipped on the stairs. It must have been getting a cup of coffee for breakfast, and another dear friend who's looked after her for years and was the nanny of all the children. Ended up as a PA. Dorothy actually found her. So that was even sadder. Yeah, terrible.
I mean, I'm not surprised you're writing your memoirs, because all of these people, all these events, they're really they're historical events, historical people. But I want to know, say Dame Shirley Bassey, when we think of her, we think of this wonderful, wonderful singer. But on a personal note, because you have to deal with her, you're putting on her parties. Do you find her easy? And I know I'm putting Liz on the spot.
No, you're not. What people never realise is, and I have got albums full of my life with Shirley, with Ivana, behind closed doors. What people always overlook is, these are human beings. These are normal people that have made a success of their life. been sort of catapulted into the limelight, they are still human beings. So you cut them, they bleed. There's a joke, they laugh. And when they've come into my life, which I used to find with clients, and I have to admit that I don't think I've ever had a client that hasn't been a very good friend. And when you're somebody like Ivana Trump, who, yes, did cold call me and asked me to lunch at Harry's Bar. So we're going back 30 years to 1992, and she just got divorced. And I remember being curious, what is it she's going to say? And she'd been in the paper, and in those days the fashion, high fashion, was these bit like ballet skirts. They were short and very full and very colourful, and she had her hair up, and
it was very high, as I remember, in those days, before she softened.
High heels, high hair, to make her taller. And I remember going to this lunch, and she said, Avel, and she always called me Lizzie.
Right.
Avel, she was introduced to me as Lizzie. Vel Lizzie, I understand. I need to get to know you. And at that stage, that's what she said. And we chatted, and she said, but what is it you do? And I just looked at her and I said, as has always been my reply, the best I can. Because everyone is different, everyone has a different need. But those that have come to live in this country, and for whatever reason, whether it's business, pleasure, or in Ivana's case, she came here because she wanted a new life, and she got divorced, and she wanted to get out of America at that time. And so it's a question of deciding, okay, now, without sort of saying this for any reason, but most of my friends are very interesting people. They're the sort of doers of the world. They're people who've accomplished something. They've got something to talk about. And in Ivana's case, she was an exceedingly brilliant businesswoman, the like of which I had never at that time met before. Unbelievable. Sharp, to the point. Her English wasn't that good, but if she understood something, which is why every single interview she'd ever done for a magazine, I'd ask for the questions, go through the questions, suggest an answer, and then go through them with her and sort of interpret. We could never really do an interview without going through that process because there would be misunderstanding. But when she got the point, then she could talk, and we came into her own. So with this lunch, she said, I'm going to, where was she going? I'm going to Czechoslovakia next week. My first ex-husband, who wasn't really her husband, you see, she married him to get out of the country. He was reopening something called the Smetana Theatre, and it was a big deal, and she'd invited New York gossip columnists and 4 or 5 other people. And of course, what she was doing was testing me. So I flew out. We had an amazing time, and I won't go into all the details. And then, because of that, she invited me from there to go skiing in St. Moritz. Now, you have someone here who is a ski champion, and I can ski and love skiing, but I ski slowly, and I enjoy the moment, and I love après-ski. She would go from the top to the bottom. Well, she realised with me, she had to go and then stop. And then I'd come down and then she'd go down again. Anyway, it's too long a story to tell you what happened in that first ever time. But she did say, she'd rented a chalet. Well, Lizzie, I want to give a party. And I said, okay. So I looked at this chalet. I discovered a basement. And I went down to the basement, and believe it or not, there was a room twice the size of my drawing room. So quite very large. And in the corner was a great old stone fireplace. There were stuffed animals like lions and things. Anyway, and lots of trestle tables.
Right.
Well, we managed to get it all cleared and cleaned, put in a fire, put the long table together, and I think I invited about maybe 50 people. And the Gypsy Kings, which was an amazing band.
Yes,
they
I
were in
love
town,
them.
and so I got them,
Yeah.
and we put on this party, and it was amazing. And it was after that she said, or she asked me to represent her. She had special cards. I still have them, of course. So, Liz Brewer is my personal advisor, spokesperson, event organizer,
everything.
you know.
So you
and,
passed the test, hadn't you?
Yes. And from then on, it was sort of...
Did you ever meet Donald?
Yeah, oh gosh, yes.
Because I don't think we get we
well,
can't get a
you
fair
don't.
appraisal.
He absolutely adored her.
Right.
Obviously couldn't live with her because she was so competitive. And even after he divorced her, well, actually, let's say after he was in the White House,
right.
He rang her on a regular basis. This last year, he was ringing her 2 or 3 times a week.
Oh.
And because remember, they have 3 grown-up children and grandchildren.
Yes, exactly.
And so he adored her. And the funeral, which I couldn't get to because it was literally 2 days' notice.
Yes.
And I was so committed here. But they filmed it. I got sent a copy. And... he was in tears.
Those
and he
pictures.
kept going up to the coffin and he was talking to her. He was actually talking to her and in tears and talking to her. And it was absolute rubbish what they wrote about the fact that he'd put the grave on his golf course. She had actually... That's what she wanted. She wanted to be in a public place. She didn't want to be in a graveyard if this ever happened to her. She specifically said, I want to be somewhere. And there were 10 plots, and I'm presuming that will be the family graveyard.
Yes.
The press misunderstood that whole thing and misinterpreted the reason. But yeah, she was very wise. She was very sharp. And attention to detail was phenomenal.
So really, she would have just gone on and on.
She
and
taught me. She taught me attention to detail, and she taught me patience. Really taught me patience.
Really,
without having worked with her for that long period of time. I would never have been able to do La Dette to Lady.
Because
no,
really?
I couldn't have done. That gave me the patience to bite my tongue and really just observe and think before I spoke with those dreadful Ladettes.